Streaming live, Gordon, for the first time, taking this out for a spin. No pressure.
I wonder how many people are going to watch this podcast live when we didn't tell anyone it was live for the first time ever. We might have like 3 or 4 live viewers the entire podcast, but you're a part of the exclusive first ever live FloTrack podcast. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. A historic week for us. We're trying some new things out here. I was off last week on paternity leave. Might be gone next week again on paternity leave. But in the interim, I know you're going to go on a trip too to film some workouts with some fast athletes throughout the country. So we're just tinkering a bit here. It's fair to say.
Yeah, it'll be good. Last week I missed you, man. Had to do a podcast all by myself, but got through the week. Joel Embiid came back, made it to the Sixers, so that was good. But then the Sixers lost yesterday, so I'm still reeling from that. But overall, it was a strong week without you. You were missed, and I'm happy you're back.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If people didn't listen to Gordon's pods last week, listen, I don't blame you. You probably saw, Kevin's out. Maybe I don't want to dive in, but you had a star-studded cast. You had a range of topics. You had Nico Young on Monday. Then you had Carl Lewis on Wednesday. And the most notable part, I don't want to spoil the entire interview, but you tried to talk Philly sports with Carl Lewis, which was great. I like that you shoehorned that in there. And you wanted a Sixers take from him. And he kind of gave you just boilerplate. Yeah, they have a good young team. That's awesome. But then he went up and fired the Eagles GM, which was amazing. And I don't know if you can get that in any other podcast in the world. You had one of the most famous Olympians firing the Eagles GM. And then you close out the week with a very interesting story about Waze Karandesh, the Afghanistan 800-meter runner who's trying to fight to get into the Olympics. So you touched on a lot of bases last week, Gordon. I'm impressed.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if I want to publicize Carl Lewis's firing of Howie Roseman, the Eagles GM, because I think Carl wants to. I don't want to ruin Carl's relationship with the Philadelphia Eagles franchise, so that when he wants to go to a playoff game here or there, they're going to be like, "Hey, remember that podcast you did with Gordon Mack where he said you wanted to fire our GM? Yeah, you're not getting box seats this time, buddy." So maybe I'm trying to protect Carl from future VIP restrictions down the road. So
okay. Do you agree with him on that, by the way? Is that a reasonable opinion to have, to get rid of the GM?
A lot of people agree with him. I'm in the minority, and I do not agree with him. Okay. I think Howie Roseman's mistakes were mistakes that anyone else would have made, and uncontrollable. He thought Carson Wentz was good. You pay someone that you think is good. He was good. It's not the GM's fault that Carson forgot how to play football. It's not the GM's fault that the salary cap dropped $30 million because of pandemic. So, like, he did what he did. In the moment, he made the right moves. The thing that they hold, just turned into a Philadelphia podcast, the thing they hold the Eagles GM accountable for is, like, quote, bad draft picks. But here's the thing. Everyone has bad draft picks. If you cherry pick one pick here and there, you're always going to be like, hey, look, you should have gotten DK Metcalf. LOL. Yeah, but DK Metcalf went like 100th, right? They don't yell at the 99 picks before him and be like how stupid they are. They just kind of compartmentalize and narrative-based shitty draft picks. So whatever. Okay. He got Jalen Hurts. He's now number 1 on a jersey, so we'll see how he does. Hopefully it's a good year for Philadelphia. The Phillies are 3-0. Sixers are number 1 seed. Eagles are 0-0. Things are looking good. There you go. Flyers not so good.
And you have one of the most famous Olympians trying to do some changes in management. I like it. Yeah. So check out those pods is what I'm saying. Check out the pods. Not for Gordon's sports takes, but for Carl Lewis's sports takes. We are going to dive into your rankings on this week's show. And when we do that, we're also going to go into some of the news and results of the past week as well. Because, listen, I was out of the loop, right? I was in the hospital for a couple of days, come back. The general fog of having a new child is upon me, and I'm just getting news in bits and pieces. So I'm going to rely on you to fill me in if I didn't get the whole story here. But real quick before we jump in, and there's people now watching, so if you have questions about the rankings or an event you want us to focus on, feel free, throw it in the chat. We will break it down for you. But before we get into these events, can you just tell people the brief way you put the rankings together, which performances were considered, which performances were not?
So it's kind of interesting, right? Because these rankings originally came out in about January of 2020 when we had no idea the world was about to shut down. So it's kind of interesting seeing what I thought the top 15, top 20 athletes in each event were going to be at the start of 2020. Now, a year later, we had kind of a weird quarter of a season. Some people ran, some people didn't. In 2020, we had some indoor results now. So this is the latest I could get to of what have you done for me lately, what I think you can do for me down the line. And I base the rankings off of 3 factors.
3 factors. Here we go, folks.
2021 marks, 2020, no, 4 factors. 2021 marks.
4 factors, folks.
2021 marks, 2020 marks, 2019 outdoor only marks, and 2019 USA finish. So there was a little bit of a factor of championship performance.
Okay.
But I have to weight it kind of uniquely because let's be honest. Are you the same person you were in 2019 as you are in 2021 in June? Probably not. But you should get a little credit for being a championship performer just because you have a slow PB. But, hey, you won USAs. I shouldn't be like, oh, well, you're 8th now. So I have to balance all that. And the rankings are going to change as time goes on because as we get closer to USA, the Olympic trials, the 2019 marks are going to become pointless. I'm going to remove them completely from the algorithm because it's going to be what have you done for me lately by then? Because by then everyone will have updated their what am I now type performance. So those are the rankings.
Okay.
Top 15 in every event. We'll probably update it every 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
And all of them are on the site for every single event. We're going to go through the running events, and then there's a few field events I wanted to highlight because there are some things that are notable there. But let's go right into it. Let's just start with 100 and move our way up here. Again, if you're in the chat, you want to know about a specific event, list that event and we'll get to it. Gordon will give you the full download. Maybe he'll tell you they're to the test, the decimal point, what the exact rankings were, like who had 0.87637214 versus who was ahead by another 10th. Men's 100, here we go. Bromell, Lyles, Gatlin, Baker, Rogers, your top 5. I can't really argue too much with that. Like I said a few weeks ago, I would have Bromell and Lyles 1A, 1B basically, but you can't, when you do a ranking, you have to pick one over the other. We can't have a tie at the number 1 spot. Bromell's indoor was good enough. Obviously, his outdoor was solid last year as well too. I can't really argue with those ones. I am interested to see though that 3rd spot because I did see that Ronnie Baker showed up at the Texas Relays and ran 994, win legal, got the standard, ready to roll there. If we think that Bromell and Lyles are really sure things for 1 and 2, the race is going to be on for that 3rd and final spot. How do you see this race?
Yeah, I think the order of Lyles and Bromell is going to be minuscule. I don't know how to say it.
Minuscule. Here we go.
Minuscule. But it really is going to come down to who's going to get that 3rd spot. You have Baker, who's going to be the one with like a strong resume, like time-wise, but Gatlin is going to be the veteran who's like, when's the last time Gatlin has tried to make a world team in a U.S. final and not made it? I don't remember. Do you? Can you think of the last time Gatlin's not made a world team where he tried?
When he's been eligible to compete? Yeah, you got to go back a ways.
Yeah, you got to go back a ways. So I get he's old. He's what? Is he 40 now yet? Is he 40 yet? Maybe 38, 39?
He's going to be 39. You're asking me all these questions again. I've been gone for a week, Gordon. I'm not as sharp as I was before.
You lose track of Gatlin's age by then? So
I'm blaming it on my son.
I'm giving Gatlin a little bit of benefit of the doubt of, hey, he shows up. Same reason why like Mike Rogers is there in the top 5. Mike Rogers, he doesn't have a top 5 season's best, but hey, Mike Rogers finds a way to be on that relay pool every single year. So that's why he's he was 2nd in 2019. Think about that. So I think the question is, I think those top 5 make sense. They're all established characters. What I'm interested in is not in the top 15 at all is 2 notable, well, you can say 3 notable sprinters. Yeah. You have Makai Williams, the Oregon Duck, who just won the NCAA 60. You have Terence Laird, who was just ran a 1981. We'll talk about him later. And you have Matt Bowling. So there's like, I feel like that's like the trio of the best like U.S. sprinters in the NCAA right now. Right now, I don't have any of them in the top 15. And I think some of them will creep into the top 15 once they start running some faster outdoor performances. So, but yeah,
Okay.
those are the rankings.
Gillespie, I'd keep an eye out for him. He was really solid at NCAAs in 2019 and was on the relay pool that went to Doha and got the medal. He's got a little more experience now. Gatlin, 39 years old, you're right. And then since 2012 has made every single team. We got a comment here in the chat from Nick, says Baker second, Lyles third. Yeah, I think, listen, Baker was on a roll a couple of years ago. Remember that really good run at the pre-classic? He got it going. I know he had some injury issues in 2019. That's why he didn't even start his season until USA's. But he's got a combination. He's been on the circuit for a long enough time, but you could still see where he's in the peak, the prime of his career. So that could be ending up with a good pick. We should mention too, you're not including Coleman in this, and obviously Michael Norman.
Correct.
You don't think is going to quintuple. Unfortunately,
Yes.
Michael Norman will not quintuple and run the 4x1, 4x4, 100, 200, and 400, although we hope that he does. Let's jump over to the women's 100 here. A lot of youth. That was the theme when I went and looked through your women's sprint rankings, because you have Sha'Carri Richardson, Tiana Daniels, and TT Terry, 1, 2, 3. And then actually going deeper in that, you have Kayla White, Kiara Parker, a lot of people who are in college, would still be in college if they didn't go pro or recently graduated from college.
Yeah, these rankings probably are going to get a little bit flipped a bit because Leah Hobbs just ran a 10.99. The former LSU product. She's ranked 6th right now. So I can see her moving up. Again, these were done before this past weekend's results. But yeah, right now, I don't really see anyone touching Richardson. I remember when she ran a 10.75 and then kind of bombed out at nationals. We're like, at USA's, I mean. We're like, hey, was she a one race wonder? Did she a knock on pro? Did she kind of flash in the pan? But her 2020 low key was really solid. She ran consistently sub 11 multiple times. So she's earned, even though she doesn't have really a championship performance to her name, 10.75 is very far away from anything Tiana Daniels or Twanisha Terry are doing, or the older folks like, English Gardner, Tori Bowie, Janet Prandini types.
Yeah, Bowie will be an interesting wild card. Obviously, a lot of experience there. I think, and I said it at the time with Richardson, she doesn't need to run 10.75 even ever again to have a phenomenal career. Obviously, she could make the team running much slower than that. She could perhaps even win gold depending on Fraser Price and Elaine Thompson and the rest of the world. But 10.75 puts you out there, but that doesn't mean it needs to be the reality. We got a comment here: Richardson, Hobbs, and Hill for the top 3. Do you have Candace Hill in your top 15 here? Not in the top 15 right now, but someone that can move up. You're not considering here Lena Irby, Phyllis Francis, or Allison Felix. That would be crazy. That would be crazy if Allison Felix decided to jump in the 100. You're listing people who had good PBs, but weren't considered, just for full disclosure, correct?
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah. Okay, let's jump into over the 200. Actually, that was the 100 I was listing. Sorry, with the people who are not considering for the women. For 200, you're not considering Felix. You're not considering Irby or Phyllis Francis. But who you are considering, again, you have Richardson. We'll start with the women on this one. Richardson, Steiner, and Thomas, 1, 2, 3. Then Angie and Ellis, Brittany Brown round out the top 5. Thomas has been running pretty well. I've seen she's got some early season wins there. Richardson, she got beat by an Ellis in that NCAA race, but that's so long ago now. It's hard to know how much that matters. And again, the 10.75 carries a lot of weight here.
Yeah, and she ran 22 flat too. So she's the only one to run 22 flat or faster. So she has the fastest PB. Yeah, I mean, I'm on the new train that Sha'Carri Richardson will not be not number 1 until she loses. So
okay,
she's getting a full Olympic trials experience before I have any doubt in her now. So she gets one championship meet.
Well, 2019 was such a weird situation with such a big break between USA's or NCAA's and USA's, and that's not going to be the case this year. And even if it was, she's on the pro schedule, not the collegiate schedule. It was inevitable that some people were not going to have a good time with that big break. Some people were fine and could transition. Some people couldn't. Men's 200. This is the event I've long said that I will bet my house on. And people might say, hey, Kevin, you just had another kid. Are you willing to risk financial security on Noah Lyles winning gold? Not only am I willing to do it, I'm willing to put down more money because I need more money because I have another kid. So load up even more cash on the Noah Lyles for gold. So it's no surprise he's the number 1 ranked runner in the U.S. Then you have Kenny Bednarik, number 2, and then Terence Laird, who ran that 1981. Man, that 1981 was impressive, Gordon. I got to say, I was like, ooh, is there wind? Is there wind? Is there wind? No, it's legal? Okay, here's Terence Laird. We're waiting for another guy in the 200. There he is.
And the thing crazy about that is that was run by the guy who got second at NCAAs. So it makes you think, all right, what can bowling do? Bowling's probably got to be in that same range. So then it gets you excited for when they get to face off again at SECs and NCAAs. It's like, hey, if they're both on the track, they're going to push each other even crazier. We could see like a 19-7 in the NCAA final because Laird and Bowling are going to be pushing each other. That's what I think. He ran 1981 by himself.
Yeah, that was fast. That was, I think, the race he wanted. Remember in at NCAA indoor. I mean, it's an indoor 200, totally different, and he, had a little bit of trouble navigating that bend. If I'm remembering that last part right, obviously that was the race that he wanted to have in Fayetteville and put it together outdoors. One name you didn't have on here that I think is interesting, and obviously the 200 for the men comes with a lot of caveats because you're not considering Michael Norman, but the high schooler, Ariane Knighton, who he ran 20.3 this past weekend and beat some pro runners in that field. But I'm curious to see where he ends up and what sort of races he's going to get into in the lead up to the trials.
Yeah, I mean, right now though, like it's hard to be in the top 15. I mean, everyone in my top 15 has run like 20.2 or faster. 20.0, 20.1s and sub 20. So 20.3, while is good, and like you said, he just beat Josephus Lyles, Jareem Richards. He beat some decent people. You got to wait till he's running low 20s, like 20 flats, to really be in the conversation for I can make a U.S. final. I could see him doing it. I mean, if he finds a way to lower that PB a little bit more and is kind of peaking at the right moment, and he comes into the U.S. trials with a 20.09 PB, then I could see it. He could have like a Michael Norman / Noah Lyles type Olympic trials where they kind of surprising everyone and making that final. But right now 20.3 is good, but you gotta be a little bit better to kind of start cracking that top 15 for me.
Yeah, I could see him making the final. I think that would be a huge accomplishment in the same way that Lyles and Norman did it in 2016. Checking in on the chat here. Caleb wants to know, will he still be on Spotify? Yeah, they'll still be on Spotify. Just Gordon wants to be a YouTube star and a Spotify star at the same time, so he's got to diversify. And then Lewis says Eli Hall with 3 exclamation points.
Hey, man, I'm all on the Eli Hall train. There's no bigger fan of Eli Hall than me. However, he hasn't really put together a strong performance since his crazy 2018 year. I know he's dealing with some injuries, but we need Eli Hall to come out and run 20.1 and be like, all right, then I start believing it. But until Eli Hall starts running a little faster, he's going to be on the back burner for me. But again, if he does show up and put up a top 15 type PB mark, then I'll start being like, all right, Eli Hall, I'll be back on the train. But right now, he's on the back burner.
Men's 400. You have Norman, Curley, which I don't think anybody would disagree with those two being the top 2. Maybe you flip the order. Maybe you don't. But then you got a big group after that. Kamari Montgomery, Nathan Strother, Trevor Stewart round out the top 5. I did see that Fred Curley ran a 10.03 win legal this weekend. So going to get into that sub 10 sub 44 club. Just needs to run a sub 2200 if he does that, so he can join that elite group there. I'm wondering, I have a couple questions here. Noah Williams, should he be higher? The NCAA indoor champion from LSU.
Well, what is he? I mean, he ran 44.71. I mean,
you have him 11th.
Everyone in this list has run sub 45 seconds, right? So like people, you need running 44 isn't really like I'm a top 3 favorite anymore. You got to be running low 44s consistently. So I think, NCAA champ, but it's an indoor champion. I mean, we know there's no indoor Olympics. Winning NCAA indoors doesn't mean everything.
That's true.
Some people are better outdoors. But I don't feel like he needs to be any higher right now. He hasn't really done much to say like, hey, you are top 5. I mean, who do you put him above? Will London? I don't think so. Cherry and Norwood, which I always confuse with each other. Bryce Dedman.
Maybe another. I was thinking Dedman because another college guy, right? You could compare college guys to college guys. But
Dedman just ran well at Texas Relays.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. You got to fill me in here. I was gone a little bit, a little out of loop. Last thing I saw was Noah Williams just tearing up in Fayetteville. I'm like, number 1 ranked, number 1 in the nation. I like the order in general. I think it's going to form here. Norman, we just need to see these guys race more. We need to see an all-out 400 from Norman and Curley. It's obviously been a long time. Norman had the great run at Mount Sac in 2019, and then Curley beat him at USA's, and then it looked like Norman was going to get him again at Worlds, but then Norman got hurt. Curley ends up with the medal, but I think most people right now would not disagree with your order. Women's side, man, this women's 400 is really interesting. So you have Jonathan, then Francis, Wembley, Ellis, Okolo, Irby, Kaylin Roberts, Allison Felix, Chloe Ablett, Kathleen Campbell. That's the top 10 here. And it's funny, the notables not considered here is a who's who of women's 400-meter running, but in other events. Shamir Little, Athing Mo, Delilah Muhammad, and Sydney McLaughlin. And one I want to point out.
That should be a 4x4 right there.
Shamir Little. I did see that Shamir Little goes 50.19 at Texas Relays. And if you've been paying attention to the women's 400 over the past couple of years, outside of the World Championships and maybe the top Diamond Leagues, for a U.S. runner to run 50 low is rare. It makes me wonder if Little is going to throw her hat into the open 4 as well as the 400-meter hurdles.
I'm going to have to ask a question. Is it possible schedule-wise? I know there's been times when like Ashley Spencer tried to do both, but kind of I think she ended up not making either team, maybe. I don't recall. But I know it's hard to do both because it's 6 400s you have to run, right? It's 3 rounds and 3 rounds. A lot of running 400s. So it's like a 6x400 crazy workout over a week period.
Well, okay, so the women's at the trials, the women's 400 is in the first half, and then obviously you have the 2-day break in the middle, and then the 400-meter hurdles starts on those last 3 days, days 8, 9, and 10 of the 400-meter hurdles. So you could definitely do it. The problem is, the cumulative effect of the fatigue. All I'm offering is that I would want to stay 100 miles away from the women's 400-meter hurdles if I could avoid it, and if I had just as good a shot in both. You have to think that people would opt for at least having a shot at the 400, where there is so much uncertainty.
Here's my question. The 400 relay pool is top 8 because there's a mixed relay, because our sport's crazy and has mixed relays for no reason. Anyway, top 8. And it's going to be top 8 from the 400 final. Yeah. If you're Shamir Little, okay, first of all, let's think about trying to make it individually. Shamir Little, would you rather try to be top 3 when there's a race that has Muhammad and McLaughlin, or be top 3 when there's a race that has Jonathan and Francis, both who have run sub 50?
You'd rather run the 400.
The 400. Rather run the 400, but they're both hard. They're both hard. They're both hard.
Oh yeah, it's Olympic trials. Yeah. They're all.
But here's the thing.
But in one event, you're running against the fastest 2 people in history.
The odds of Shamir Little getting top 8 in the 400 are 100%. Like, they would never make those odds because she's 1,000% guaranteed. So if she chooses to do the 400, she's 1,000% guaranteed to be an Olympian because she'll be in the 4x4 pool at the worst.
1,000% is good odds. Maybe I should put my house on that.
But if she's in the 400 hurdles and she somehow gets 4th, loses to Ashley Spencer, which could happen. They're both, I look at them even. All of a sudden, she's going to be looking at 51-second 400 women bragging about being on the Olympic team when she's like, I could smoke you. I'm a full second faster than you. Part of me hopes that they would recognize this, but I don't think they would. Would they recognize, say Shamir Little, it's like, all right, going all in. I still think she'll do the hurdles. If she gets 4th in the hurdles, we would be dumb to not put Shamir Little in the 400-meter hurdle pool. 400-meter relay pool. But would they do that?
They're not going to. No, they're not going to add that. They'll have a big enough roster as is because then you're going to have to bump somebody out the open floor pool. They're not going to do that.
Yeah, but the open floor pool is going to be like a 51-second person, and you're like, 50.1. They would have to be like, we're dumb if we don't put Shamir Little in our 400-meter relay.
Yeah, but the rules are the rules, and this is one thing where I would side with them on it. Hey, you want to run the 4x4? You want to be guaranteed to run the 4x4? Run the 400 at the trials. That seems like a fair. That seems like a fair trade-off. Or be good enough to where you make it in another event, and then we can pull you over like they did with the hurdlers last time. Yeah, that's because what are we basing this? Then we're just going to go based off of times then, and not competition. I don't like that. Let's jump over to the 400 hurdles though, real quick, while we're talking about this, just because I think it's useful to compare these two to see which one she would opt for. So obviously in the 400 hurdles, you have Muhammad McLaughlin, then you have Ashley Spencer, then you have Shamir Little, Tate, Carter, Cockrell are the top 7. You know, there might be another person who emerges from here, right? A college kid who gets hot at the right time. But even if they don't and it stays about where it's at, Little's going to be battling with Spencer, Tate, Carter at minimum for that final spot. And then you have to assume that those two spots, 2 fastest women in history, they're going to be fine. They're going to get through. Versus the 400 where, you have Jonathan and Francis and you have Shakima Wimbley. Obviously, no field is easy. That's why it's hard to make the Olympics in the United States. But it's not close. It's not close when you compare those two about which one will be more difficult, especially if you've already run 50.19. You already have that in the bank, and it's April.
Yeah. Well, I just think the thing is, like, she really is just racing one person in a 400 hurdle. She has to be top 1 in a 2-person race between her and Ashley Spencer. So you could argue 50% chance. But in the 400, there's a bunch of people. I mean, Jonathan's run 49, Francis run 49, Wembley's run 50.2, Ellis 50.38, Irby's run 50.5, Okolo 50.8. So like, it's a bunch of 50-point people. I feel like you could accidentally fall off into 4th in a 400 more than you could in 400 hurdles. I don't know.
Yeah, but you could also win. She could win the open 4. That's a possibility at the trials. So there's 3 spots open versus 1 spot open. I think there's going to be somebody else too that's going to be there. We've seen in years past how deep that women's 400 hurdles is going to be, and there's going to be another person besides Spencer and Little there, whether or not it's Tate or Carter or Anna Cockrell gets on a roll. Like, there's going to be somebody else there who gets dragged along to a quick time.
Do you think if you're a 400-meter runner like a Jonathan or Francis, Wembley, Ellis, Okolo, Irby, Roberts, all these people, Felix, are you kind of embarrassed that the 4 best 400-meter runners don't do your event? Like, they don't train for your event, like, and they're still better than you? Like, that's got to be a little bit, like, embarrassing, no?
No. I don't. Look, you're going against, again, we're like, I don't think, because we're in the moment, we're not appreciating how good McLaughlin and Muhammad are. Because the 2 best in the history of the event. Of course, they're going to be good at it when you take away the barriers. And I think the women's 400 is going to get going again this year on the U.S. side, right? Because internationally,
a college freshman is better than them. Like, come on.
Internationally, well, again, this is the thing. You're always talking about a thing, Mo, as if she's just like, well, a random college freshman showed up at College Station and started running it. She broke the collegiate record in the 800. She's a generational talent. She's not just some person who showed up. Look, the women's 400 as a whole has been really good the last couple of years, really fast. You got to go back to Doha and look at what Nasser and Miller-Weibo did. So I think that's going to kind of trickle over to the U.S. side. We're going to see faster U.S. times. I don't think the times that were run in 2019 are going to hold up again in 2021. All I'm saying is, even if it gets quicker, you're still not going to have the situation where the two best of all time are in your event, and you're also really good in another event. It makes sense to explore that option. I'm looking here at the chat here. Leverage King says Irby, Quinera Hayes, and Felix. That's an interesting trifecta there. You could make some money.
Sounds like a troll.
If you go,
sounds like a troll.
You go to
Quinera Hayes.
So the Irby pick is interesting, right? So she has the crazy race in Eugene in 2018, correct? Yeah, 2018.
Yeah.
Goes pro. Obviously, there was some growing pains getting adjusted, but 2020 during the lockdown, she had some good runs, and is getting back. It looks like she's getting back into that form, and if she can run, she's run under 50 seconds, that puts her in the mix. Yeah, Quinera Hayes would be a long shot. Felix, again, I'm more optimistic on Felix than you are. I think she's got a shot just based on what she did in so few races in 2019. But we'll go to the men here. We went down a 400 meter hurdle rabbit hole here. We'll go to the 800. How about that? Does that sound good? 800?
Sure.
Yes, no? You like 800? Okay.
I was going to say something controversial, but I'll hold it.
Okay.
I'll hold it back.
Leverage King wants to clarify that he's serious. So there you go. He's not trolling. He says
hold on. Quinera Hayes, what's her most recent?
He said ran 22:68 yesterday, getting her speed right. So there you go. If we're gonna get to every event, we gotta keep it rolling here, though. Although I do appreciate the interaction. 800 men: Brazier, Hoppel, Murphy. Top three. Was it difficult to put them in that order, Gordon?
No. Very easy.
Gordon, I need you to focus on the 800. Focus on the 800. Stop Googling time, sir.
Quinera Harris is better than I feel like I was being a little rude to her, but I don't think she's going to be top three. If I'm wrong, I'll eat that crow. Anyway, top 800, very easy. Brazier, Hoppel, Murphy. I think that's probably the easiest top three to kind of everyone and their moms can say, there's your top three. I mean, the only people to break 144. They're only people to break 144 high. Like everyone else is running 145s, 146s.
Yeah.
You could see Isaiah Harris or Isaiah Jewett or someone like that come in and have a breakout 144 performance, but Brazier's running 142s. Hoppel's running 143s. Murphy is running 143s, 144 lows. It's those three. Cut and dry.
I think prior to this weekend, Dixon in that fourth spot, an intriguing pick, although he struggled at that Texas A&M dual meet, ran a 151. And then I thought Harris had a good weekend. He gets a massive 50. He's not known as a 1,500 meter runner, but runs 342 in the 1,500 out in that meet in Prairie View. So I would put Harris right now fourth. Also, he's ran an 800 this year. He ran that one in Austin and looked pretty solid. So just the fact we're less than 3 months away. If you're running right now and you look healthy, that's a good sign. The people who aren't running right now, and maybe if they didn't run in 2020, you're starting to ask a few questions like, okay, well, when am I going to see this? We've been waiting for a year. When am I going to see it? So someone like Harris, you feel good about from the perspective of, we know he was banged up before in 2019, went to the trials without the standard, went to USA's, without the standard in 2019. But now he's healthy. He's piling up solid races. I think he'll be there when it matters with a chance to grab a spot. But yeah, Brazier, Hoppel, 1, 2, solid. Women's 8's fascinating. And for the purposes of this discussion, we're not considering Houlihan, you took Corey McGee off, Sinclair Johnson, Eleanor Purrier, et cetera, et cetera. But your rankings are as follows: Wilson, Rogers, Green, Mo, Grace in the top 5. I would have Mo in the top 3. We've talked about that ad nauseum on the show. She just ran a 4:16, 1500. Green. It's Green. It's Wilson, clear number 1. She won. Talk about someone who just shows that they're informed constantly. Wilson looked good in the race in Austin. Rogers ran at Prairie View, but I think she ran the quarter. The weather was really bad, so I'm not going to read anything into that other than she's at least healthy enough to get on the start line. I think she'll be fine. And obviously, she's just got so much for how young she is. Like Rogers has a lot of big race experience, and then I would put Mo in there in third right now. Her PB just a little bit. Her PB just a little bit behind Hannah Green, and she's running better right now. And I gotta say, I like the fact of anybody who can qualify for the NCAA meet in 3 different events. Not that she's going to run 3, but she's going to have to declare on 400, 800, and 1500, which is going to be cool. I'm assuming she's going to run an open quarter at some point.
I'm just thinking a thing, Mo, is the attractive pick, but like I think we kind of ignore Hannah Green because Aja Wilson has been good since I was a teenager and I'm dominating Diamond Leagues. Raven Rogers has I was dominating at University of Oregon, and then I went on to do well at Worlds. But like Hannah Green beat Raven Rogers at USA's. She was second.
Mm-hmm.
Her season's best is 0.01 slower. Raven Rogers ran 158.18. Hannah Green has won 158.19. So the same time, Hannah Green has beaten Raven Rogers. A thing Mo was 5th at USA's. She lost to Olivia Baker. I know she's better now, but like, I think we just automatically say, well, it's Wilson, Rogers are the good ones. Hannah Green is like that outcast who isn't really part of the I'm a good 800 meter.
That's not what I said. I just started putting thing Mo ahead of her.
We just pick Hannah Green because it's like we're not used to seeing Hannah Green beat. I just think we are overlooking Hannah Green. I think there's a lot of Hannah Green disrespect going around. I think she deserves more respect. She's second. She was second at USA's. She won 158.19. Yeah, we're gonna give the college kid be like, oh no, you're not as good as a college kid. Well, if Hannah Green was in those races, how do we know she wouldn't have just smoked a thing, Mo? Right? We don't know that. I mean, if you look at Hannah Green's 2021, she won a race in Seattle in 2:01.14. So she won that. She ran a 4:10 1500. 4:10 1500. We're bragging about a thing Mo's 4:16. She ran 4:10 in the 1500. It's a little better, 6 seconds faster. And she ran a 4:29 mile. So like she's showing she has the strength. That tells me she's not going to be tired in round 3 of an 800. We don't know if a thing Mo can go through 3 different 800 rounds. It's a lot. I just think she's going to have the experience. She's going to have the strength. I'm going to say right now, Hannah Green is my lock. For you can have Aja Wilson as your lock. I'm taking Hannah Green as my lock to make the world team.
I like the confidence. I don't know how that started, where it started and ended where it ended, but I appreciate the fact that you have that much confidence in her. Victor wants us to talk about Kravon Gillespie. We did at the beginning. I said watch out for him in the 100. He must have missed the beginning of the thing. And then Jono thinks you don't know what you're talking about. Wimberly has run 49. Irby has run 49. You two are either talking to be controversial or just favoritism.
So is that me saying that they're not? That's. I think it's because I said that I think Dalilah Muhammad and Sydney McLaughlin are better than Irby and Wimberly.
Oh, I see.
And they are.
I'm
sorry, but like Sydney McLaughlin and Dalilah Muhammad are going to split 48 high on 4x4s. That's what I would take if you take them in an open 400. They're going 1-2 over Wimberly and Irby. And Irby ran 49 a long time ago. It's like 3 years ago. She's more of a 50-point runner now. I don't know. I don't think it's disagree.
I thought he's talking about good. I thought Yeah, I was talking about the order, and I was like, you have Wimberley in third there, and I would have Irby higher up. Like I would have Irby ahead of Okolo on your list, and I obviously would keep Jonathan's up there just based on how she ran in Doha. He did that after a long NCAA season. In any event, okay. So 800, you're locking up.
Irby didn't make the 400 final in 2019. Let that be known. I lost you. You broke out, right? You broke up.
I was just gonna say I respect the fact that you're betting your salary on Hannah Green. I think that's a pick that nobody else is going to make. We did get another comment here. Man. Speed versus endurance, 800. Not fair to compare their 15. What's Green's 400 this year? See, there you go. There's the counter argument, which is fun. That's why the 800 is fun. You could look at it from the other perspective. Are these picks basically? Are these like what are their rankings right now? Because that's two different questions. Because I'm not saying Mo is a lock to get there. I've never said that. All I said was once you're on the collegiate record, she's clearly, if you're ranking them, she'd have to be in the top 3. That's my point.
I don't know. Hannah Green, baby.
How are you looking at these? How are you looking at these as predictions, or are you looking at these as how they're at right now?
I mean, it's a combination of both. I mean, I guess it's based off of. I mean, the problem is a lot of these athletes don't give you a lot of data points. Like we don't know what. So like, and you have to assume that athletes aren't trying to break world records like in January. Like, so you have to give athletes a benefit of doubt that they are timing their season to be the best in June. So you can't hold them accountable for slower performances now. So it's a projection of how I think the results will be in June. And those projections will change if new athletes or old athletes do impressive performances in the now. But they have to be incredibly impressive. Like if the thing moves running 157,
incredibly impressive. That's a high bar, man.
I'll have a change of mood.
Okay. I would buy right now based on these rankings. I buy Nia Aiken stock. You have her down there in 12th. Aaliyah Miller's interesting too because we just saw what she did at NCAA's going from the front and winning that race. I like the people who are going to have momentum going in. Now this is too far out to continue your momentum, but whoever starts to get on a roll outdoors, again, trials are coming up so soon that there's not really many more opportunities to build like a good solid win streak. 1500 time. So this is interesting. Let's start first with the men. I don't think I disagree with your men's rankings. I'm just to say that right off the bat. I know it's not. I don't think it's going to be that. I don't think it's going to be. That's not the argument that's going to loop people in and get people interested. But I have to be honest here. I think Centro is still number 1, and that's where you have him because of his track record. And yeah, he ran that one race and finished 8th, and Oliver Hoare ran away with it, and he drifted back. But we've seen Centro have not so great beginnings to seasons, and he knows how to get it right at the right time. Hawker number 2, again, don't disagree with it. I do not disagree with it. Okay, he goes and at this Hayward Premier meet, he sweeps, he runs 338 high and then a 146.6. He just has this way about him where he is able to pull out victories. He's able to time his kick perfectly, and he has that burst over the finish. The thing you'd have to be worried about with Hawker or anybody else at this point is on the college side, like how long can you sustain this basically, right? Like say for example, you ran some of those random 2020 end of 2020 meets. So you did those, you're just super jazzed, right? I get to get out and compete again. The pandemic ruined my season. And then you're just running on all this enthusiasm and you run a couple winter races. And then you go into indoor and now you're with your team again and then you're racing. And this is so exciting. And then, whoa, outdoors here now. And we have a new stadium. And this is so exciting. Eventually, I think that's going to catch up to you. I don't know who it's going to catch up to and who it's not going to impact. But just running on this enthusiasm of being able to compete again, I think is going to have a shelf life. Now, Hawker does not look like anybody who's slowing down at this time. And to me, Gordon, tell me if this is an apt comparison for you. It's not a perfect comparison because they run different events, and obviously Hawker ran faster, but Hawker 2021 is starting to feel like Hopple 2019, to where he just gets these wins. Like when I was watching that 800, that's what I thought. He ducked through on the inside and just was able to jet away. And his win streak isn't nearly as long as Hopple's is, and he's running a different event. And obviously, he had the collegiate record, but he just finds ways to finish first over these past couple meets. That has really impressed me. So you have him there at 2, and then Engels at 3, Negusia 4, Josh Thompson 5, Blankenship 6. I think after those 6, if you were having odds, it would drop off pretty precipitously there. I mean, you'd want, Grigorik's got a great PB, so you wouldn't count him out. But I think you could say that top 6, if you could bet on track, would be the 6 that would get the most action.
Yeah, because obviously Centro, the establishment, he's an Olympic champ. Hawker, he has shown he has the wheels, and he's run a fast mile. Negus has shown he has the wheels. Craig Engels has been consistently top 3 recently. Josh Thompson has a fast PB. Blankenship has made multiple teams, and then Grigorik has a big PB. But the rest of like Henry Wynn, Sam Prakels, Chiatti, Isaac Yorks, Eric Avila, Trip Hurt, Colby Alexanders, those types, you're a 336 guy, basically, maybe 335, but you haven't really done something crazy to really earn a top 3 finish. I mean, look, I'm saying this now, and watch, one of them will be making the team because it's the 1500 and anything happens. But like we said,
it's hard if you go in without the standard. This would be a good research project for you. If you go in without the standard, how often do you come away in the top 3? Because we always talk about that. Oh, this person's going to have to go. I remember in 2016 they were starting Twitter threads trying to figure out who was going to go fast to get the standard, and it's so much to manage in a race that's hard enough. So I think,
because if you are good enough to get the standard, if you're good enough to get the standard in a championship race, you would have gotten it by then.
Yeah. But it just makes the race a little more dynamic, because then you're just wondering, well, is this person going to go or is this person going to not go? And then it lasts usually for about 800 or 1,000 meters, and then reality sets in. But with Hawker, okay, after that mile run in Fayetteville, even before the 3K, even in that hour between the mile and the 3K, it was like a weird question of like, man, can this guy make the Olympic team? But then when you actually list out who the candidates are, it makes complete sense. It does not seem like a weird, contrarian, sort of prisoner of the moment type pick. It seems completely logical that he could finish top 3 when you actually look at who's in contention.
Yeah, the men's 1500 is much easier than the women's 800. So therefore, the superstar college kid running out of their mind, I think, is more likely to see that success translate to an Olympic trials top 3 in this event because of the depth. I mean, hell, I think two college kids are going to be top 4. So,
yeah.
I mean, maybe we'll start seeing
Negus
some
will be
fast
interesting
1500s down the road, and then things will change. But until then,
women's side. Now, this is going to be obviously defined by who ends up running the 1500. The 5K comes first, but so you're not considering Schweizer, Schneider, Rowberry, obviously Coburn, Quigley in the steeple, and then Cranny, we think will run the longer stuff. So your rankings here, you have Houlihan, Purrier, Simpson, Hiltz, Osika, Grace, Sinclair Johnson, Corey McGee, Helen Schlachterhoffen, and then you have Danny Jones in 10th. My only thing that I found that I would have done differently is I probably would put Sinclair Johnson a bit higher. Maybe I would have had her not in 7th, but maybe 5th or 4th, right there with Hiltz. Remember, Hiltz just edged her to get that spot in 2019. But other than that, I think the top 3 fits in some order. Obviously, I wouldn't be shocked if Jenny Simpson ends up ahead of Eleanor Purrier or vice versa. Shelby is the clear favorite here. Was this one difficult to do?
Well, no, because now that we know that Ellie Purrier is running the 15 over the 5K, it just it makes it the top three very.
Wait, do we know that
known.
for sure?
I mean,
do we know that for sure?
Yes.
Did she say that?
We know that for sure.
Oh, she did. When did she say that?
Coach tell me. Coach told me. I'm going to film a workout with her this week, so I found out. And you got to choose 15 or 5, and she's choosing the 15. And the coach said to me, because she has a better shot at medaling at Worlds in the 15 than she does in the 5K. So at the Olympics. So like, it's not about thinking of like because probably the best way to probably make a team is by going the 5K route, right?
Yeah.
You could argue that, but she's now in the mode of like, it's not about trying to make the Olympics. It's about what is the best path to getting an Olympic medal. And that's 15. And that's why Shelby's doing a 15 over to 5, right? So I think Shelby and Ellie are both choosing the same route because they realize, all right.
Did you talk to her coach too?
No, but you see Shelby's going to do the 15 because I think they're just thinking like, hey, we're in the same categories as the, I'm trying to think of international 1500 meter runners.
Faith Kipyegon, Laura Muir.
Muir, all those, But like
Gudolf Sagai,
Hassan is going to be a lot harder to. Sounds a lot harder to be, and just the 5K is just crazy. So.
Yeah, it's a different beast. I could see Shelby just because of her 14, 20 and change run that she would be confident in a 5K, but Purrier, it makes sense. And there is those weird events. You're dead on about that where it's easier to make the team, but it's harder to medal and vice versa. So do you take the chance of making it a harder path to get to the Olympics, knowing that when you get to the Olympics, you could get on the medal stand versus you jump in something longer and it's going to be more difficult. So that's interesting thing to keep track of. Speaking of the 5,000, men, Chelimo, Fisher, Kincaid, Lamong, McGorty. So basically you have Paul Chelimo and the Bowerman Track Club here.
And then 6, Joe Klecker. 7th, Emmanuel Bohr. 8, former Bowerman, Ryan Hill. 9, Cooper Tier. Got Tier, a college kid in there, and Shadrack Kipchirchir 10th.
Yeah.
I think the notes that I would take from this is, of my top 10, only 3 ran the 5K at USA's in 2019. So Fisher didn't run it, McGorty didn't, Klecker didn't, Bohr didn't, Hill didn't, Tier, Kipchirchir. All of them didn't do it.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's very different from what we saw because I had Ben True 11th. He was 7th. He actually represented because of people scratching. Drew Hunter hasn't been, on fire lately. 12th. Hassan Mead we haven't seen a lot. 13th. So it's like kind of a changing of. I feel like this is the changing of the guard year when the McGortys and the Fishers and the Joe Kleckers, like that era, starts becoming the consistent top 5 over what used to be like the Lamongs, the Ryan Hills, Ben Trues.
And imagine
it's like kind of a change.
And imagine you have to think that at least 1, potentially 2 of this top 5 will run the 10K and make the 10K team. And do they come back and run the 5K at the end of the meet? We saw Lamong do that in Des Moines in 2019. Obviously, didn't end up competing in it because he didn't have the standard. But what if those guys end up scratching out? What if Lamong and Fisher make it in the 10,000 and then don't run the 5,000? Then it gets really wide open for those spots.
Yeah.
At that point, and then you're going to go even deeper down on the list.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lamong's going to make the 10K team, but still run and get 4th here. Like, I don't think he'll scratch. He might scratch. No, I think he'll probably still try to do both. Like, Lamong's not. I think the only way Lamong would scratch if it's like he's scratching and his teammate gets to go. I think they would do that for their teammate. It's like, hey, you're better in the 10 anyway. Yeah, it's your second event. You could get Sean McGorty in the meet. that'll be a good move to a teammate to move. You made enough world championships and global Olympics and all that stuff to like, do you need to double in your weaker event just so you can go again? I feel like that wouldn't make sense.
I don't know though, that the men's 5 and 10 internationally is really interesting right now because you don't know what Mo Farah has. You don't know.
Mo Farah is.
Come on. Well, obviously Cheptegei is great, but Ingebrigtsen, like you're assuming he's going to run the 5,000 as well. There's a lot of uncertainty, so I wouldn't blame anybody for wanting to cast a wide net at the Olympics and have as many shots as they can at getting a medal.
True.
The interesting thing about Lamong, last real race July 10th last year. Now that's where he broke 13 in the 5K. So it was a good last race, but we haven't seen him in quite a long time in a real race. You do have him number 1 in the 10K, which we'll get to in a second after we do this women's group, where you have Schweizer, Roberry, Schneider, Cranny, Fraser, Infeld, Sisson, Hall, Bahalski, and then Lapare, the top 10. This one is just, man, it's still a great race. But I just thought this was going to be it, man. And then they moved it. And then they moved it to the front of the meet. So it just changes it, because you look at the list of notables not considered, and then it's a great group of people who aren't going to be running it as well. But I'm with you. I think Schweizer is the clear favorite here. I think she can kick, and she's got the strength. And then I think there's another 8 or so women who could be in the top 3.
Yeah. Shannon Roberry's kind of be that veteran. I mean, there's a lot of like kind of last hurrah type athletes. You have the Lamongs, the Gatlins, Roberrys, Allison Felix, these people who've been, consistently in the top 3 contention or making top 3s for the past like decade or so. You got to think this is their last Olympics. Maybe they try to extend one more for Eugene. But Roberry, we've kind of forgotten how good she was. She kind of dropped off because she had a baby. She came back. It takes time to come back from that. She ran 14:45 last year. She's ready to go. I think she was 6th. I consider the 2019 champs her rust buster, where she got 6th. And now that she got her rust buster, 2 years later, she's ready to come back and be a top 3. And then Schneider, I can, because it's a weaker field, no Houlihan, no Purier, she could definitely finish in the top 3.
Yeah, Cranny is interesting because she runs obviously the amazing 10,000. I mean, she's run a good 5 as well too, but she runs the amazing 10,000. So I think she could make this team as well. It just depends on what she does. But you have her a little lower than I think most people. Well, even in the 10, you have her pretty low, right?
Yeah,
what do you have her in the 10?
4th. I mean, it's gonna be a kicker's race, and I just think Schneider has a better kick than Cranny right now. I mean, Schneider's run like 4 flat.
So the 10,000, you have Cranny 5th, and then you have Schneider 4th, Huddle, Sisson, and Schweizer there. Now remember, the 5 comes first, so Schweizer runs the 5, makes the 5. Maybe she doesn't run. I think Sisson and Huddle are going to end up going all in on this race on the 10,000, but Schneider maybe doesn't run it. She doesn't run the 10. It's different when you put the 10 at the end of the meet as opposed to the 5, because asking someone to come back for a longer race and run another 25 laps is tough. So you could see a scenario where this race, the women's 10, does not have Schweizer, does not have Schneider, maybe doesn't have Cranny, and then it becomes Sisson, Huddle, Kellen Taylor, Emily Infeld, Mariel Hall, Alicia Monson, a race like that for those 3 spots.
Yeah. Talk about the men's 10.
Men's 10. Again, so you got Lamong 1, which I think that's fair. Kipchirchir 2, and then True, Fisher, and Kincaid 3, 4, and 5. Now, Fisher and Kincaid just beat True, if I'm not mistaken, down in California in that 10K. But that's obviously a different type of race than what we'll see at the trials.
Yeah. I think True is going to – I mean, he was struggling I think he just showed that he had a big breakout in the 10K to be able to run that 27:14. Yeah. And I think True went into that race of like, I just got to get the standard. I don't think True went into that race of being like, I'm going to try to win this race. I think he realized, all right, I'm on it. Like, he had one goal, and the goal was the time, not his finish. And I think now that he has the time, when he goes into a race where it's about his finish, he's a better racer than he is a time trialer, I think. Because he tried a time trial multiple times in his 10 and failed, but he figured it out, got the fast time because he's fit. I just think True's a gamer. So that's why I have him third.
Yeah. All right. That's fair.
Fisher
that's
then
fair.
gets his, but if it kind of works out, right? Because Fisher and Kincaid, they kind of, Fisher gets fourth here. Then he comes back in the 5K and gets his redemption.
Is that how it's going to happen? Okay. There
Right?
we go. You don't even need to watch the race. There, Gordon's got it. There it is. No, yeah, you could definitely see that. It's going to be tough though for those doublers. Even though there is a big break in between, I think it's going to be tough for people to come back. Although we've seen it time and time again. Hurdle time here. Men's high hurdles: Holloway, Roberts, and then Mallett. Women's high hurdles: you have Ali, Harrison, Brissett, Marshall, McNeil, Clemens. Women's, I'm guessing, was a little harder to figure out the order than the men. Am I correct?
Yeah. I mean, choosing to put Ali over Harrison, I think I had to do that because Ali's just been running faster times than Harrison, even though Harrison is the defending champ. But I think Ali, Harrison, 1, 2, and then the rest is kind of just throw it in a bag and mix it up. Same thing on the men's side. Holloway and Roberts, 1, 2, then the rest throw it in a bag.
Ali had the gold. I mean, Ali got the gold though in Doha, so I don't think anybody's going to argue with you putting her.
Well, but Harrison won USA's.
Okay,
Harrison won USA's.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Holloway, Roberts, and then I think it's just a big question mark for that third spot. Maybe Devin Allen gets in there. Aaron Mallett ran really well last year. We already did the women's low hurdles. The men's low hurdles, it was Rye Benjamin, and then there's a significant gap back to everybody. I mean, I'm just guessing. I haven't seen your actual number rankings on here. You have Holmes and then Hall, Amir Latin 4, Norman Grimes 5. I think someone who's going to jump onto your list is Selman, who just ran 48.87 in Texas, beat Amir Latin by a second. The times were not fast, as a whole at that meet, just because the weather. But beating the number 4 runner on there by a second, I think we'll see Selman in your top 15. Yeah. But I don't want to presume. I don't want to presume that that's what's going to happen to your rankings. But I'm just saying, as a commenter on your rankings, I think that could happen. Keep an eye on that.
Yeah, that's going to change. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then let's close out with Steeple, and we'll worry about, because we're coming up on an hour here. We'll worry about the field events on a later pod. But
no, I want to talk about the field events today. No, we're talking about the field events. I have 3 field event questions I want to ask you. Steeple is chalk for the women.
I got a flight to catch.
When's your flight?
11:10.
Okay, we'll let. All right, 11:10. Okay, so we'll go quick here. Women's steeple chalk. Okay. It's the same every year. Yeah. It's always gonna be the same. In top 3. We know top 3. Men, you had Jager second, behind Bohr. I guess it's just lack of races, right, for Jager?
Yeah.
Okay. So there we go. People don't need to. I mean, there's not much more complicated than that. Here's my field event questions, though. Can Javon Harrison make both teams? Can Javon Harrison make the high jump team and the long jump team?
High jump, yes, because I think even 230 should get him in the top 3. Definitely in a high jump. He can make the high jump team. Long jump, I think it's a little more questionable. Even though
you have him higher in the long jump, though.
I know.
Yeah, but I just feel like jump, though.
High jump, the establishment isn't there as much. I mean, Eric Kennard is really the only guy who ever. But like in the long jump, Jeffrey Henderson shows up when it matters most. Mm-hmm. Will Clay is a gamer. Marquise Dendy's good. So Marquise Goodwin, who the former Eagle, he was an Eagle for like a half second, now back with the 49ers. Yeah. He's jumping again. I just feel like this more established shows up when it counts long jumpers than there are high jumpers.
Okay.
And so even though he's ranked number 1, I can just see Goodwin, Clay, and Henderson just jumping out of their mind and going 1, 2, 3.
Okay. My next field event question. Are you excited as I am about this Brittany Reese, Tara Davis battle in the women's long jump? Looks pretty exciting.
Yeah. I think though Tara Davis, I think Reese might be the kind of slow, steady, I'm going to jump 7 meters every single jump and just like put Tara Davis just on her heels. I think Tara Davis definitely is going to at least finish second. I mean, she's going to want to win, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of pressure on Davis because she's like, the Olympics, I got to make it. And like, she might overthink it. And Reese is like, I've been here, done that. And I just think I could see Davis getting to the lead, I can see Davis getting in the lead after the first 3 jumps. Then Reese in her 4th jump in the finals just like edges her. And then Davis just like foul. Because then she's like overcompensates, like, oh, I got to try to get it back. And she'll just like stay. I think Tara will be in first through 3. Reese will take first after the 4th jump. And then Davis will foul the final 3 jumps and just finish second. That's what I think.
You're getting very specific with your picks. I'm just saying it's exciting. You have the newcomer person, the youngster versus Brittany Reese is one of the most underrated careers out there. The amount of gold she's won, the win streak that she had at global championships was mighty impressive. But Davis with the indoor and then outdoor collegiate records back to back, she's on fire right now. It's just exciting. It's gonna be an exciting event to watch, women's long jump at the trials. And then the last one, men's triple. You have Will Clay ranked ahead of Christian Taylor, which is crazy because Christian Taylor has he wins everything. He's got 6 golds. The only time he didn't win one, he was 4th at a global outdoor championship. Clay finished 3rd, so Clay's looking for his first outdoor gold medal. I looked it up all time in the triple jump. Taylor leads 27-23, so closer than I thought. But it's a different story when it comes to major championships.
Yeah. And Will Clay's jumped over 18 meters.
Yes.
So Christian Taylor has not jumped over 18 meters, but not in the past year.
Oh.
No.
Okay, you're talking about
since 2019. Ever, but like we got to get like Will Clay is going to go in with the fastest, like the best most recent mark, jumping 18:14. Christian Taylor's jumped 17:92.
You're giving weight to it.
I'm giving weight to it.
Okay.
And you see Christian Taylor go out there and jump an 18-meter, and then maybe I'll flip it back to, hey, Christian Taylor wins all the time. Maybe this is one time Will Clay's like, I got you back.
It's just crazy. They've been going back and like forth since college. It's a cool rivalry. So I hope we get at least one or 2 more years out of it. Okay, we'll leave it there. Full rankings are on the site, FloTrack.org. Subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. Like this page. Thanks, everybody who tuned in live. We appreciate it. We'll try to do it again. Gordon, you got to catch the flight, so I'll let you go. Thanks to Lon for producing. We'll talk to you guys on Wednesday.